I started this series to shine a light on upcoming indie games, mostly because developers don't have access to swaths of money that AAA titles have. And even with that deficit, some of these indie games have a bigger impact on not only the gaming industry, but the world. I saw a trailer for the upcoming Forspoken, and thought because it is being published by Square Enix that it should be disqualified from being an indie. However, the more I thought about it, the more I just wanted to play the game and see what it was like. So although it may not technically be an indie title, the devs only worked on one prior game, and I figured, you know what, I played the demo, so let's give my experiences with Forspoken, and tell you if you should be on the lookout for when it releases. In Forspoken, you play as Frey Holland, who grew up in New York City. Wait, what? Oh! Apparently, even though the trailers only show you the world that you will be in, it's apparently a game where you play as someone who's transported to another world and must find their way back to their original home. It kinda seems like a generic story, but let me tell you all you need to know. Are you ready for it? Magic parkour. Boom, that's it. Game of the year. But in all honesty, does this game really stack up to its semi-indie status, or is Forspoken a game that should be left forgotten?
End this once and for all.
I normally break down the game into a few categories, but for this video, I kept finding myself at a loss of words for my entire experience. So I feel like the best way to get into my review is to just jump into it. The combat is enjoyable when it's not busy being chaotic. It feels best when it's one-on-one, as you can lock the camera and have time to mess with all of your abilities, but that all changes when faced with multiple enemies. Having to multitask all of the triggers for combat, while also having to manipulate the thumbstick to switch targets and stay able to dodge with the circle button, makes your hands end up in a variety of awkward positions. I generally ended up not locking onto the enemies when there was a grouping of them, and that ended up pretty poorly as the camera went all over the place. Utilizing the adaptive triggers on the PS5 was a nice touch, and even though I got used to the overall combat scheme, I was really not thrilled with the end result, as I felt it was just a bit too busy. I feel like the game was really trying to emulate the God of War control scheme, but didn't quite understand what made that control scheme as good as it is. A great aspect of having an open world game is that it allows players to do what they see fit, and gives them options of what to do. But the downside is that if there's really not a lot to do, then you're left with lots of empty space, and unfortunately that's what it felt like in Forspoken. It felt like going to any point of interest took a long time, and I felt that after stopping a few times, not only was it slowing me down to my next objective, but the reward for clearing out enemies was rarely worth it. I felt like the shining moments of this demo came from the boss fights. If the game focused more on just these boss fights, and maybe even just the wave survival modes, I feel like I would have loved playing this game. But as it sits, it's just something that I can't be enthusiastic about, and I can't recommend it when it releases on January 23rd. I hope everyone's had a great holiday season. I'd like to thank my patron supporters Relativity, Naughty Dog is King, and Rhonda, Aaron's mom Proctor, for helping me create these videos. Also, apologies for the inconsistency of releasing videos, but I promise I'll try to make it better this year. As it sits, guys, that'll be it for this week. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, be kind to one another.